welcome to Overdrive. I'm Shireen Bhan. Japanese auto giant Honda has had a dream run in the Indian car market with all of its cars, the City, the Civic and the Accord. They've been leaders in each of their segments, but as they say, time waits for no one or no car. The Civic was beginning to show its age, especially given the competition coming in from Toyota and Skoda. Honda decided to give it a much-needed upgrade. Sirish finds out if the new Civic has what it takes to maintain its leadership position.
Futuristic, aggressive and sporty. When the Civic was launched 3 years ago, it set the gold standard. It was the benchmark car in its class. However, competition was quick to catch up. Toyota came out with the Corolla Altis, and of late, we have the Laura 1.8 TSI. And that means the Civic is looking a bit dated. So Honda have given the Civic a midlife facelift. The headlamps and tail lamps get octagonal optics, and this S variant gets a proper sporty body kit, including a nose splitter, side skirts and a nice big rear wing. The V variant on the other hand gets cruise control and steering wheel mounted audio controls. Inside though, there are no changes apart from a USB input for the stereo. Internally, Honda calls this the Civic MMC, minor model change. And that means apart from the few cosmetic changes, the rest of the car remains unchanged. But in 2009, is that good enough? To find out, I've asked Bert to bring along a competitor. But hey, what's he doing in my car?
If you've been watching the show regularly, you'd have noticed just how often Sirish kept going on and on about the Skoda Laura TSI. You'd have also noticed just how much that guy loves fast cars. Which is why, using his editor's discretion, he bagged the keys to the BMW 3 Series and then the Mercedes C-Class's long-termers. And now he's finally convinced Skoda to give him the Laura TSI as a long-term car as well. But then, to keep things fair and simple, I decided to drive the Laura. Though, I have to admit, he does seem to have a point.
So as you saw, both are great cars to throw around and will give you lots of laughs. But enough larking around. Time now for an objective and serious road test. Displacing 1.8 litres and kicking out 132 PS of power, the Civic had an engine to enthuse all enthusiasts. It did that Ivy Tech badge on the boot proud, and it gave the Civic a 0 to 100 time of 10.2 seconds and a top speed of 191 kilometers an hour. Like all Ivy Tech engines, this engine needed revs to go hard. Lots of revs. And while that might be fun when you're in the mood for it, when all you want to do is drive quickly and peacefully on the highway, this wasn't the engine of choice. This needed a lot of gear shifting. Again, a sweet gear shift, but then it's a lot of work to go fast.
Sure thing, Sirish. The Civic's VTEC is a bit dated, especially when you take into account this new wave of engine technology that's coming out from manufacturers such as Volkswagen. The TSI engine, direct injection petrol, it's the next generation of engines. It's what you're seeing in the Skoda Laura and several other Volkswagen Group cars as well. It's powerful, it's efficient, it's flexible, it's powerful, versatile. Did I say powerful? Actually, I did. But then this engine is magnificent. It's blazingly quick and it's very frugal. Gives fantastic fuel economy as well. You don't have to shift gears as often as you do in the Civic and the Laura. And that makes this a very nice car to drive both in the city and out on the highways.
And not only does the Laura have bottom end grunt to rival a diesel, it also has brilliant performance. 100 comes up in just 8.2 seconds and she gets to over 200 kilometers an hour. Unlike other Hondas, the Civic has very good steering. It's light but not overly so, and it's precise, communicative and has got good feedback. And the mechanical grip from the chassis is also very good. Two up round a smooth corner, this car can grip very well. Unfortunately, the suspension is set up too soft, and that means even if there's a slight bump around a corner, this car tends to get thrown all over the place. And worse, if you load it up, the rear suspension squats and practically runs out of travel. And then if you push it hard around a corner, the tail tends to step out scarily.
Dynamically, the Civic is an outstanding car. There was a time when she was a track test winner, but when held against the Laura, she pales in comparison. And that's because the Laura's suspension articulation and geometry come from a land with places named Lausitzring, Sachsenring and the Nürburgring. And guess what that does to the Laura? It enables it to run rings around the Civic.
Performance and dynamics done with, Bert jumped into the back of the Civic to get a better handle on space and comfort. Unfortunately, now the Civic interiors, especially the quality of plastics, is not feeling up to the mark. And worse, you can't even shut off these aircon vents. There's no control for it.
And that's a sore point indeed. I mean, a car of this stature should have something like that. That's a bare minimum, the basic details that have to be included in a car like this.
And I think you should also have steering wheel mounted audio controls, which this S variant does not get. But how's the space back there?
The space is fantastic. I think this car is built for the rear passenger. I mean, there's a lot of leg room and knee room. There's a lot of headroom as well. However, 3 passengers, this shoulder space is a bit tight. Though it's got a flat floor, so the third passenger is not going to be that uncomfortable. He is going to have some amount of comfort over here.
So definitely the car if you want to be chauffeur driven in, right?
Totally. Just get a copy of Entrepreneur, sit back, read it and chill out.
And then we moved into the Laura, where I was in a very unfamiliar position, tucked in at the back.
Suresh, I'm quite impressed with these interiors. This new two-tone upholstery with the dashboard. It all looks very classy and very upmarket. And then the build quality also, it's typically European. Everything fits so well. Shut lines are perfect. Don't you think so?
Well, I agree. This definitely feels like a very high quality cabin. A cabin made out of very high quality materials. It's a cabin that you'd love to spend long hours in.
True. But what about space in the back, Mr. Editor? Are you comfortable there?
Well, it's been a long time since I sat in the back of any car, and I think this is quite comfortable. The knee room is adequate. The headroom is just about adequate. Somebody taller than me, he would struggle to get comfortable here. But the shoulder room is just enough. It's tight back here. It's after all based on a Golf, and the Golf is a hatchback. I had the misfortune of putting my wife back here along with 2 of her friends, and I haven't had the last of it. She's still cribbing about how uncomfortable the back was with 3 people in it. But for 2, I think it's okay. But while the Civic might be very spacious at the back, it is the Laura that has the better ride quality, especially over broken tarmac, where the soft rear of the Civic tends to bounce around. The Laura though, it's firmly but perfectly damped. Well, Bert, isn't this a very nice looking car?
I think so too. It's a very sharp, very smart looking car. Looks far better than the older generation, doesn't it?
Yeah, especially with this whole spoiler thing going on and the nice rear spoiler. It has this old Japanese tuner thing going on. It really appeals to my boy racer sensibilities.
Very true. I was expecting a lot more out of the Laura, but I'm sorely disappointed. It's just not what I was hoping it to be. The next generation Laura should have been something more spectacular than the previous one. And
I agree. This looks like a Chinese ripoff of the old Laura. And that's saying a lot, yeah?
True. But apart from the styling, I think this overall is a nicer car. It's got much better packaging. It's got a better engine. Don't you think so?
So that's it then. Amongst these entry-level petrol-powered D-segment cars, it is the Laura that is our pick. It is slightly more expensive, but it makes up for that by having a much better engine, having much better dynamics. It is a better car to drive, and I think a better car to own.